Crossover Thursday, Locked On Ravens, Locked On Chargers. Kevin Ostreicher, David Drogemeyer, taking you through everything you need to know heading into Monday night's action. Just a reminder, today's crossover edition of both Locked On Ravens and Locked On Chargers is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use that code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Now, David, both these teams have plenty of paths to victory, and I think that we will see many different iterations of them play out over the course of the full 60 minutes. Now, when we're talking about the Ravens and what they have to do to win this game, first of all, I think that you have to, as we talked about, establish the run early against this Chargers defense. Don't let them off the hook. We know that, again, as you mentioned, they have maybe given up a little more in the rushing department than you would like to. I think the Ravens need to take advantage of that fact. And part of that is being able to mix in different things. Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, who's played really well. Keaton Mitchell has been back for a couple weeks, but he hasn't really had a lot of run. I'd love to see the Ravens get Keaton Mitchell involved in this game for a couple of carries and see what he can do with his lightning quick ability. The Ravens haven't had Lamar Jackson run. Lamar hasn't run nearly as much as he has over the course of his first 6 seasons. Now, part of that's by design. And obviously, he is lighting it up right now through the air.
Last year's
as well.
playoffs probably has something to do with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Man. That's almost like, everyone in Baltimore they've thrown that out of their minds. They said, what game? They played in the AFC Championship.
Right, yeah.
No, they didn't. But we saw that even that happened last week where Derrick Henry fumbles on the second play of the game and they don't really get him involved for the rest, finishes the game with 13 carries. You bring in Derrick Henry, not to be a 30-carry guy, but you want to use him even if it's not even running them with the ball, because it's the gravity. I love to use the word Locked On Ravens listeners are sick of me saying this word, but it's gravity. When Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are on the field, there is a certain level of attention you have to pay to both guys. Because,
absolutely.
Look, JK and Gus were great. They were awesome in Baltimore, but neither of those guys are Derrick Henry.
That's true.
Part of that is just because Derrick Henry's a mountain of a man. It's just I wouldn't want to go out there and try to tackle him, let alone all these NFL defenders. So I give a lot of props to. So the first thing is you got to establish the run if you're the Ravens. Second of all, I think you have to get in Justin Herbert's head a little bit. The pass rush has been a little bit inconsistent for the Ravens this year. It has been better over the last couple of weeks. But guys like Odafe Owe, who had 3 sacks against Pittsburgh, I talked about Travis Jones. Nnamdi Madubuike, who's their big $100 million man in the middle of that interior. He's looked better over these last few weeks. Kyle Van Noy, who I know you're very familiar with, Mr. Kyle Van Noy.
Old friend alert.
Old friend.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing. Was great at the beginning of the
7
season.
7 sacks, man.
Yeah, he was on it. He was on it. So those guys, if they can get to Justin Herbert and get in his head a little bit, Herbert's a vet, right? He's not going to be subject to rookie quarterback it gets flustered by a
definitely not.
That's not what we're saying. That's not what I'm saying here. But at least you have to make him think, can this offensive line block me? And by the way, that Chargers offensive line has some dudes on it. So easier said than done in that regard as well. But I think that if you're the Ravens, the key to victory is if you can get pressure on Justin Herbert, that's the big thing. And here's a final thing, David. We've talked about Chargers offense, Chargers defense, Ravens offense, Ravens defense, Ravens special teams. Last thing here is Justin Tucker has to be Justin Tucker. Not Justin Tucker from this year, though. The Justin Tucker that we have been accustomed
historically
to
great.
Yes,
Justin Tucker,
greatest kicker of all time, in my opinion. So we know
of course.
Tucker struggled this season. He's missed 6 kicks and has struggled even from inside 50 this season, which has been such a shock.
Yeah, he's so automatic, right?
Yeah, 50 plus the last 2 seasons has been iffy for him, and he's hooking all these balls wide left, which is actually kind of a trend throughout the league for a lot of kickers. So we saw it against Pittsburgh. The Ravens lost by 2 points. Justin Tucker left 6 points on the board. I expect this to be another close game between Baltimore and the Chargers. You can't leave points on the board. Tucker has to hit on his opportunities. Now, on the other side, David, what are 3 things the Chargers have to do to win this game?
Yeah, so 3 things that the Chargers absolutely have to do to win this game. Winning in the red zone. They got to play complementary football, and they got to win in the fourth quarter. So winning in the red zone, the Chargers have to find a way to get a couple stops in the red zone. The Ravens have the best red zone offense in the league.
Yep.
They score touchdowns on 77.8% of their red zone trips, which is a lot, okay. The Chargers got 2 stops in the red zone last week against the Bengals, and that was quite frankly the difference in the game. They score one of those touchdowns. It's it's a different looking ball game there. The Chargers have the second best red zone defense in the NFL this year. So we're going up against great versus great. The Chargers only allowed touchdowns on 40.1% of their red zone trips there. So they do an excellent job. They need to continue to do that. You get 1 or 2 stops where you turn 7 into 3. Those are winning plays in matchups like this where your margin for error is so razor thin. This right here in the middle of the season on a Monday night, this is a playoff caliber game. Don't get me wrong, okay? So you need to play playoff caliber football, which means you got to be as close to perfect as possible, which leads me to my next thing, playing complementary football. The Chargers offense needs to help the defense against this offense. The Chargers can't afford any of those offensive droughts that we've seen in the second half of games. They need to put together consistent scoring drives in the second half. And of course, they need the defense to force a turnover, get an interception, force a fumble. You got to be able to get the ball back, create a short field for your offense, and then win in the fourth quarter. Last week, the Chargers started great. They dominated the first half, but they gave up 3 straight touchdowns to tie the ball game. Unfortunately, they won it late, but you can't take your foot off the gas. You got to put points up in that fourth quarter. Ravens second and fourth quarter scoring, second and second half scoring. The Chargers 24th in fourth quarter scoring, 29th in second half scoring. So it's just been really bad in that perspective. You can't have it in this game on Monday night. If the Chargers have a lead in the fourth quarter, you got to finish it. Go out there. That's when you want to run the ball. That's when you want to establish and dominate the line of scrimmage, when you're going to go put the game away and finish in victory formation. As last week proved, the best offenses in the NFL can put points up in a hurry. So you got to play 4 full quarters of football to win.
Yeah, man, both these teams have some fourth quarter scaries. And I know that you mentioned those Ravens stats in the fourth quarter. A lot of that heavy lifting from both those Bengals games, which are just absolute shootouts.
Yes, they were.
Those took years off my life. And I know that the Bengals just take years off of everybody's life.
They sure do.
That's what it is. You get a win, but it costs you. So
yeah,
that's what that comes down to. But I expect a good game here. Obviously, as we talked about, plenty of storylines. You can look any which way for them. But at the end of the day, this game is massive because you talk about playoff implications, as we talked about at the top of the show. Looks like Houston is probably going to be locked into that 4 seed unless something else changes. And you're looking at Buffalo, Kansas City, and whoever wins the North between Baltimore and Pittsburgh is that maybe 3 seed, maybe 2 seed.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are looking at that Houston team. They look good against Dallas, but it's Dallas, right?
Dallas with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, it's Dallas. So I think a lot of people might be licking their chops to play Houston in that 5-4 game. And if the Chargers can win this game, they put more of a hold. I mean, look, this is the head-to-head right here.
Yeah.
And that when you talk about playoff implications, tiebreakers are huge. So might not be thinking about a game in mid to late November, but when we're looking at late December, we're going to be looking back on this game and talking about, well, man, if only the Ravens won or if only the Chargers had won, that's going to be a massive, massive thing.